Hi everybody, and thanks for joining us. My name's Cliff with Funny Bug Bees and Woodworks. This is the first in a three-part series on how to build your own Langstroth style frames. Thanks for stopping by. Please like and subscribe. Check us out at funnybugbees.com and stay tuned for the instructions. Welcome back. This is part one of a three-part series on how to make your own Langstroth style frames. Part one, which is this, is going to concentrate on top bars. There's a few tricky cuts on these. We're going to make these for you in this video using nothing but a table saw with a standard blade. No dado cut, no nothing, so that most of you who don't have a router will be able to make these. For those of you that have a router, you guys know how to use it. You'll figure out the cuts pretty easily. But for today's video, we'll concentrate on just using the table saw to help everybody make these. All right, let's get started. The first thing you're going to need is some stock. It doesn't matter what you use. Something that's relatively knot free. You don't want knots in your top bars. I'm going to use this piece of scrap. You can use anything you like, pine, cypress, doesn't matter. The dimensions for your rough stock need to be at least 19 inches long, at least 1 1/4 inches wide, and 3/4 wide. So your first step is going to be to cut this exactly 19 inches long. And then we're going to take it down and trim it down to where it's 3/4 by 1 1/16. And I should be able to get a few out of this piece of stock. So 19 inches long, 1 1/16 wide on one face, 3/4 wide on the next face. Let's go ahead and make those cuts. Alright, so first cuts are made. What we have here is a piece of stock that's 19 inches long by 3/4 on the narrow dimension by 1 1/16 on the wide dimension. 19 inches by 3/4 by 1 1/16. Let's move to the next step. Alright, your next step is going to be to cut out the notch, which is where the wedge top piece will go. So what we're going to need to do is set our saw depth to 1/4 inch and set our fence 1/2 inch from the blade. Let's get that done now and make the cut. Alright, now that you've made your cut down the length of the top bar, 1/4 inch deep and 1/2 inch from one edge, what we're going to do now is set our saw depth to cut up from the bottom of the top bar to intersect the cut we just made so that this strip comes off. That'll actually be the wedge piece for your top bar, so don't throw it away. The way to do this, the easiest method, is to just set this beside your blade. Set your blade height to where the kerf of the blade, or the blade itself, comes up just into this groove that you've cut. And set your fence to where the blade comes up right here to the 1/4 inch depth that you cut before. I'll show you what I mean. Let's take a look. Alright, so to set your depth, what you're going to do is take the narrow side of the cut you made down the long axis here. So you've got a thicker half and a thinner half because you cut in 1/2 inch from the edge on your first cut. So this thinner half is what we're going to remove, and that's going to be your strip for your wedge top bar. To set your depth, all you need to do is raise your saw blade up to where the teeth on your blade come just above that, right into that gap. No need to measure, just do it like that. That's set. Then what you're going to do is set your fence to where you cut right through here and into that strip. So you're going to remove this piece right here. There you go. As we make this cut, it's going to cut this strip off right here. And that's the strip for your wedge top bar. Now, as you can see, what you're left with, now that we've made this cut, is a strip that comes right off. So you've got your bar, see the end profile there, and you've got the strip that came off from making that cut. This is the wedge for your wedge top bar. When we get finished with it, your wax will go in here. This strip is what you tack right onto there to hold the wax in place. Alright, let's get to making these intricate corner cuts. It's really not that difficult, but we'll get started on it now. Alright, so this is what we're working with. We've got our strip cut out for our wedge top. Now what we need to do is start getting the final shape on these end bars that we need. And as you can see, there's a ledge here which needs to be cut off, okay, because that's got to sit on the frame rest inside your hive box. So the way we do that is to come back 1 inch from the end. Now this was a 19-inch top bar, so what we're going to do is set our fence to 18 inches, and that way when we make our cut across the blade, we're 1 inch back from the end. We're going to set the depth of the saw blade to 3/8 of an inch, because if you remember, we started with 3/4 inch thick stock. We want to cut half of that out, or 3/8 of an inch. And we do that just making a few passes. The first we make like so. The next we'll move over 1/8 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, and 1/8 of an inch until we have it completed. Alright, so now as you can see, just using that 3/8 deep saw cut with our table saw, we've basically done the job of a router here and made the ledge that will sit on our frame rest inside of our hive boxes. The next step is to duplicate that cut on the opposite side. Okay, so it's got a 1 inch frame rest. And then after that, we're going to want to use the saw to cut notches into both sides of this for our sidebars. We'll show you that next. Alright everybody, so your next step is going to be to cut the notches in your top bar that allow you to attach your sidebar, like so. This opening is 7/8 of an inch wide. Your top bar, if you remember the dimensions from the beginning of the video, is 1 1/16 wide. That means it's 3/16 too wide to fit in this sidebar. So what we have to do is create a channel 3/32 inches deep on both sides so that this can slip onto it. I'll show you that now. Alright, now that we've set our blade depth to 3/32 of an inch, we are going to make sure that we cut the notches out on these narrow edges, okay, narrow edges of the top bar. And we want them to be 3/8 of an inch wide. So we're going to make one pass, move over 1/8 of an inch with our fence, make another pass, and then another 1/8 for the third pass for 3/8. Alright, and as you can see now, what we end up with is two channels in the top bar. For the end bar. This is how you attach it, and that will be glued and stapled to the end. So we just repeat that cut on the opposite side, and that'll give us our channels for both of our sidebars. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cuts total. But once you memorize these dimensions, you can zip through these literally really quickly. The best thing to do is to cut all of your like cuts in a row. So make 50 blanks or 20 blanks that are 1/16 by 3/4, 1 1/16 by 3/4 by 19. Get all those out of the way into a pile. Then cut all 20 or 50 of them down the center into a pile. It's much easier to do these a bunch at a time. It goes by really quickly. Anyway, that's it for the first of this series of videos on how to make Langstroth style frames. This has been top bars. The next thing we'll cover is going to be your sidebars. That'll be in the next video. Make sure you like and subscribe so you get notification as soon as it's ready. Thank you. Please visit funnybugbees.com for useful articles and products. We sell these frames, and there's a 10% off coupon code. If you saw the video on YouTube, check out the coupon code, put it in, you'll get 10% off if you order these from us. Thank you.